Did you forget about the Cookout? Because I kinda did, and that's weird because honestly, I think it's probably my favorite gun in the entire game. It's got incendiary rounds, it's got crazy stagger, and good God, the sound design is just This gun absolutely oozes attitude and I love it. But yeah, just like anything, sometimes things grow stale. And so I gently caressed my max level Cookout and dutifully hung it up on the gun rack.
A gun rack?
Where it sat collecting dust until recently. It's kind of like when you listen to your favorite album nonstop and it gets a bit played out. Somewhere down the line, you find yourself grabbing Ride the Lightning from the shelf, dusting it off, popping it onto the turntable, and just vibing, you know? So today, yeah, I want to talk about the Cookout. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the loadouts that I've been taking on max difficulty? And why I just absolutely adore this weapon. If you're new to Helldivers, or you're coming over from a different faction, or you're a veteran like me that's just kind of lost their way, let's all get reacquainted together with how dope this weapon is, because there's nothing that hits like the Cookout. Okay, seriously though, there is something very visceral about using this weapon that just keeps me smiling. It's a pump-action fire shotgun that stops most things in their tracks. And on bugs, that stagger is a big space creator, which is absolutely the most important survival mechanism to be aware of. Are you getting meme-mugged by alpha commanders, stalkers creeping up on you, surrounded by warriors? The Cookout's got you, my dude. This weapon encourages you to play aggressively, which is a huge reason why I enjoy it so much. It makes you want to be in the mix. And with the rounds reload feature, as long as you're tapping that reload key after every shot, you've got nowhere else to be until they're dead. I get asked about this a lot, and yeah, as long as you get the rhythm down, you can fire, reload, and just keep going until you're completely out of ammo.
I am completely out of ammo.
And for a more advanced tech, learn to juggle your enemies to really take advantage of the fire damage while you have the front line completely locked down. That stagger is also why this gun totally trivializes the hardest enemies in the game, the Predator strain bugs. The Cookout lets you match the Predator bug's aggression with aggression, stopping them completely in their tracks. And it also makes you feel pretty badass when you save a teammate's skin by stun locking an enemy that's bearing down on them. Now, admittedly, the fire rate of the Cookout isn't outstanding, and I would consider that a weakness. It's definitely possible to find yourself overwhelmed as you learn how to handle close range engagements, because typically, that's really not what you want to be doing against the bugs. My solution in those situations is to learn to hip fire with the weapon and use that stagger to push things away without focusing on accuracy so much by aiming. This works pretty well considering the default spread of the Cookout, and it's definitely enough to buy you some time to dive, stim, or drop a grenade. So let's dive a bit deeper here and explore some loadout options. But before we do that, talk to me about your experience with the Cookout. What loadouts do you guys enjoy using? Are you coming back to the weapon after a long break, or have you always been a faithful card-carrying member of the Cookout Club? Leave a comment down below and let's chat. And if you're looking for more fun and effective loadouts for max difficulty Helldivers, like this video and drop a sub. The main loadout that I'm about to go through is what I consider my comfy loadout. This is what I roll with when I just want to log on and vibe. And when someone asks me for my loadout recommendation on bugs, this is usually what I go with. First up is the almighty grenade launcher. Paired with the Cookout, I think it's safe to say that this is my Joe Montana and Jerry Rice when it comes to weapon combos. Seriously, the grenade launcher is so good, and I feel like people kinda sleep on it a bit because it is a little vanilla, but the grenade launcher is elite for horde clearing and is particularly nasty against bile spewers, which we see regularly on D10 bugs. On top of all that, you have the freedom to run a backpack slot, which we're going to cover in a lot more detail later, and you get a mobile reload, which means you're always going to be able to move around and adjust to your surroundings. Let's not also forget the utility it brings to the table by being both good at taking out structures and bug holes. You do need to learn the arming distance so that it detonates on target instead of bouncing around, but that's a skill that's just going to come with time. And yeah, obviously this is not designed to be great against heavies. Don't let that shy you away from taking this weapon though. We can handle that with other parts of our loadout. Next up is our backpack slot, and we're going to take the supply pack. Honestly, what's not to love? You get stims, ammo, and grenades on demand pretty much whenever you need them. And you get to double dip on resupply pods because a standard resupply is going to give you what it normally does, plus refill a charge in your supply pack. That's just good value, dude. Now, if this isn't your jam, then hang on because we're going to cover other backpacks later. The supply pack always keeps you engaged in fighting by making sure you have ammo available, which means you're always clearing hordes with the grenade launcher. Our third pick today is my favorite stratagem in the game, gas mines. Now, if you're new here, I consider gas mines to be the ultimate crowd control tool on the bugs, and a well-placed gas mine stratagem is going to completely lock down a D10 bug breach with toxic gas. That's going to give you the space to blast whatever appears with your grenade launcher. The cooldown on these almost perfectly aligns with the timer between bug breaches, meaning that these are always going to be available when you need them the most. If you haven't given these a spin before, you are definitely missing out, and I highly encourage you to give these a look if you're wanting to try something new. This last pick is going to be very flexible, and there are definitely some obvious choices to discuss later, but I personally like taking Eagle Strafing Run. I really like Strafing Run for its number of uses per cooldown and low call-in time, and it's very good at putting damage into heavies on top of horde clearing. It's capable of putting out some very nasty damage against all manner of bugs, and if you ever find yourself going up against Hive Lords, this is a great pick. Moving over to our equipment, we're going to be relying on the Ultimatum as our main anti-tank weapon. And yeah, this is definitely a high skill cap weapon for sure. But after some practice and probably a lot of reinforcements, you're going to be able to reliably handle any heavy on the battlefield. This is a brutally good combo with the supply pack once you master that shot trajectory of the Ultimatum, since it gives you some more flexibility in your stratagem slots to focus less on having something that's dedicated anti-tank. For grenades, we're going to take the classic gas grenades as our form of crowd control to handle patrols or freeze enemies in place while we lob in a barrage from the grenade launcher. Now for armor, there are a few different options to go with here depending on what you'd like to compensate for. Because we're rocking the supply pack, the extra ammo from something like Siege Ready isn't really necessary, but it is nice if you want it. An engineering kit is kind of in a similar position. Medkit with the extra stim effectiveness is definitely a great option, as would be any armor focused on survivability through armor or damage resistance like fortified or extra padding. Okay, so if we want to talk battlefield strategy, generally I like to proactively engage with the grenade launcher from medium-long range to thin crowds before swapping over to the cookout as enemies draw closer. For some of the larger patrols or nests, I might start that off by hammering a choke point with a gas grenade just to give me the best opportunity to clear everything quickly before they can call in reinforcements. Now definitely don't sit on your strafing run charges. This is a bad habit and it can be difficult to break, but with 5 uses, you have a lot of opportunity to blow up a patrol with a single use and save yourself some ammo. On the topic of strafing run, as I mentioned earlier, it is pretty good at putting damage into heavies, and you can very easily combo that with your Ultimatum to take them down if you can't quite nail the one shot. It also gives you some space to finish them off with your grenade launchers, so don't be afraid to pump some grenades into the underside of that Bile Titan. Now when a breach spawns, your goal is to get your mines down as soon as possible and find yourself an advantageous position to attack from. This is also a good opportunity to toss down a gas grenade to buy yourself some time while your mines get called down to activate. Alright, so let's talk about some alternate ways to build around the cookout, because there are a lot of different options that we can modify here depending on how we want to play. And yeah, before we go any further, the cookout is not going to be a great weapon against the Rupture Strain. If you're looking for something crazy effective against the burrow bugs, check out the link in the pinned comment, because I just released a loadout guide that completely embarrasses these dudes. The biggest point of flexibility with our current loadout is obviously the backpack slot. A guard dog would fit really nicely here and provide some additional help in close quarters situations, especially against the predator strain, but any of the mobility oriented backpacks like the warp pack or the hover pack are also excellent choices. My personal playstyle leans towards the aggression of the warp pack, but the hover pack grenade launcher combo is a classic for a reason. Just keep in mind that moving off of the supply pack limits your ability to tackle all those heavy spawns with the Ultimatum. So if you do that, then it's worth considering subbing out Strafing Run for something like an Eagle 500, Airstrike, or an Orbital Rail Cannon if you're into that. The gas mines have a ton of potential substitutions like the Orbital Napalm, the Gas Strike, or Gatling Barrage. Really anything capable of dishing out AoE damage works great in this slot, so try a few out and see which one you like. Okay, so if we really wanted to shake this loadout up, I have been having a blast the last few weeks taking the autocannon alongside the cookout, which is somehow even better now since Arrowhead just gave it a buff. Hey, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. If they want to buff something that's already super dope, I'm all for it. This is a pretty nasty combo if you're comfortable wielding the autocannon, because the AC flak rounds are absolutely monstrous against anything smaller than a charger, and they're particularly devastating against shriekers and dragon roaches. Since the autocannon takes up that backpack slot, we can fill it out now with something like a machine gun sentry to help watch our backs in thin crowds. If you're gonna go this route, I definitely recommend grabbing something with the peak physique passive just to boost the ergonomics of that autocannon. All right, so let's round all this up into some loadouts that we can take a look at. Our standard loadout is designed for maximum horde clearing and crowd control potential with the gas mines and grenade launcher combo. And the supply pack is going to enable us to use the ultimatum regularly for our anti-tank. Loadout number 2 is a great Predator strain loadout because the gas dog keeps enemies away from us, and swapping in Eagle Airstrike is going to help to overcome the anti-tank hit that we take from losing the supply pack ultimatum synergy. This last loadout is very much focused on enemy skirmishing, and it gives off serious attitude with how devastating the autocannon is and how much it leans into overwhelming the bugs with things like napalm and big explosions. Ultimately, the point here is to demonstrate that you can take something like the Cookout and build around it in so many different ways to suit your playstyle. You know, sometimes it's really easy to forget why the classics are so good, and the Cookout has definitely earned the title of classic and is an awesome choice across the bug front. Does it struggle in some situations? Yeah, sure, but not every single weapon has to see play in every single situation. That's the whole point of pros and cons. But even as new weapons come out, or we see other things buffed back from the dead, I know that I'm always going to return to Old Reliable whenever I'm looking to shred some bugs because this weapon just checks every single box for me. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like and a sub, and if you're looking for more max difficulty bug loadouts, check out another one right here. Peace out.